Yeah, Dr. Bozeski's here, so we're going to bring on our medical updates. How can you find a fountain of youth and reduce ailments as we age? My personal best buddy, medical doctor Eric J. Bozeski, medical doctor and chaplain. We wanted to make sure that you know exactly what you need to do. And he's outstanding. I'm going to bring him on, guys. Please listen to everything he says. Outstanding doctor, I tell you, without him, I would not have been able to enter and win the Miss Senior United States because they were giving me a hard time because I have a lot of allergies, and he was able to give me clearance so I could attend, and I won. So I thank him. He's traveled with us all over the world, Jamaica, here, everywhere. So he's Dr. Willis's friend of 40 years. No, 45 years, maybe 45 years. Excellent. Medical doctor Eric J. Bozeski, MD, is board certified in internal medicine and palliative care. Dr. Bozeski provides both inpatient and outpatient care for adults in his internal medical practice with a special interest in geriatric medicine. His clinical interests include management of acute illnesses, chronic health concerns such as hypertension, high cholesterol, and diabetes management, functional medicine, preventative medicine, and physicals, as well as general medical care and procedures. Dr. Bozeski received his medical degree from the University of Florida College of Medicine in Gainesville, Florida. He went on to complete his residency training at Good Samaritan Medical Center in Phoenix, Arizona. He's traveled with God's You as a medical officer to Jamaica. He personally extended my parents' life by many years, and so we're so appreciative of him. I love when he says, "I'm going to eat vegan." That's how he says it, and it means that the way I eat, which is vegan pescatarian. He's just a wonderful, good-spirited, kind-hearted man, and we absolutely love and adore him. So here is physician, medical doctor Eric J. Bozeski.
Thank you very, very much. This is going to be a simple talk, and I'm going to invite questions at the end. So hopefully I'll raise a lot of interest. My topic is how to live well and long. So how to extend your life. And I'm going to go over very simple things you can do and things you should try to avoid. So the first thing you should know is that the goal is to keep you well until you get older and keep you well through when you get older so that you can have a long life. I've been blessed to have cared for at least 10 people who have been over 101. And so I know it's possible for you to live a long life. It's just important that you create the right behaviors and patterns now to get you to that long life. So I'm going to talk about, first of all, what to eat. And second of all, I'm going to talk about what to do. And third, I'm going to talk about what to avoid. And the last thing I'm going to talk about is what to think. And hopefully you'll get some ideas for staying around for a really long time and living a healthier life. And first, why do we want to talk about this? What is the problem? When we look at the health status of our population, we know that 18% are thought of as in poor health, that kids, 3% are considered in poor health, that obesity is greater than 50% of our population, that hypertension is close to that as well, that smoking has not diminished to zero yet. And as obesity and hypertension come, diabetes and coronary artery disease comes after. So the importance of controlling those things. So the main causes of death in our population. Number one is heart disease. And that's caused by high blood pressure, diabetes, and cholesterol. And the combination of those. And so anything we can do to control hypertension, diabetes, and cholesterol will reduce the incidence of heart disease. Cancer is number two. And cancer is caused by some dietary things. It's caused by some lifestyle things. And it's caused by some environmental things. So we need to clean up our environment and our earth. We need to make sure our lifestyles are healthy. And we need to focus on our diet. And lastly, COVID-19 is now number 3 in cause of death. So why has COVID become so popular? We know there are some genetic reasons why COVID has become dangerous, especially to African Americans. We also know that if you have underlying conditions, COVID becomes much more of a threat. And what are those underlying conditions? Diabetes, cholesterol, vascular disease, and obesity. And so all of those conditions are risk factors to get very bad COVID that could be fatal. And because those things run in higher numbers in our population, COVID has become number 3 in cause of death. So number 1, what to eat. And the first thing to know is that vegetables, as long as they are clean, really are very unlikely to harm you and very likely to help you. Why? They're very rich in vitamins. 2, they're very rich in fiber to clean out the intestinal tract. Okay? Fruit is also very healthy. It does contain some sugar. So some people have to be concerned if they're diabetic to not have too much. But fresh fruit is relatively low sugar compared to preserved fruit. So if you take a handful of raisins and an equivalent handful of grapes, the grapes are a better deal because they're not dry, okay? And so fresh fruit is always safer than preserved fruit, whether that be dry or whether that be canned. And then how do you prepare the vegetables? It's best to steam them or grill them, but try not to fry them. You can saute them, but try not to fry them deeply. And I'm going to make a special case. I'm going to pull out white potatoes, rice, wheat, and starches, because all of these agents are converted into sugar and makes it very difficult to maintain your weight. So I'm not saying you shouldn't have these things, but you need to control them carefully to maintain your weight. And if you're having problems with your weight, avoiding them will be very helpful at controlling your weight and helping your weight come down. Sugar in itself is not bad. It's just how much you have that may tax the pancreas and end up causing, over years, diabetes. And so I say sugar is fine in fresh fruit, but avoid adding it if you can. People are sometimes confused about meat. And meat should not be burnt. It shouldn't be preserved with nitrates. And it should be a low-fat meat whenever possible. So it's important to know that nitrates, which are used in a lot of cold cuts and hot dogs and sausages. So the nitrates that allow things to sit on the shelf for months are the same nitrates that have been associated with a very strong link to colon cancer. And we really want to avoid those. Also, when you burn meat, the burned parts of the meat, the edges that get burned, those are full of cyclic amines, which are also carcinogenic. And so meat should be cooked if you'd like it, but it shouldn't be overcooked to be burnt, okay? Because that will put you at risk, as well as it being preserved with nitrates. And you want to have the lowest cholesterol you can get from it, so the leanest meat is the best, okay? We want to avoid fat from animals whenever possible, although fat from natural sources like nuts and avocado are quite healthy and don't drive up cholesterol the way animal fat does. And all the spices but salt are fine. Salt is only a concern because it does raise blood pressure. And for those people who are being treated for blood pressure, salt avoidance is very helpful. And now, the next question is what to do. So how do we live? Number one, we know that exercise for 30 minutes a day for 6 days in a row, you can take a day off. That produces sweat and an increased heart rate. So rapid walking, or riding a bicycle, or swimming, or dancing, all of these are good exercises because they increase your heart rate and they produce sweat. It's important that when you plan exercise, you plan it in a safe way. You want to walk in well-lit, safe areas. If you ride a bicycle, you really need to wear a helmet to protect you. Exercise is critically important. Even if you have to do jumping jacks in your own room, it's still better than no exercise. Although getting out and breathing fresh air is tremendously beneficial. Aside from exercise, I wrote down a couple other things to do. And one of them is avoid constipation. We want people to go to the bathroom routinely, like daily. And if they aren't going to the bathroom, a combination of increased water intake and increased fiber intake and a supplement called Senna, which sometimes comes in a tea or a capsule or a pill, will help move your bowels if they're not moving for you. We want you to keep a healthy weight. And if you're not getting to a healthy weight, ask your doctor for help. There are things to do to help people lose weight and very effective medications now. So much so that I think surgeons might be out of business in the near future. Sleep is critically important. I think most of us know this because when we don't get any sleep, we really do feel it. But sleep for 7 hours a day is considered critical to allow the body's systems to reset. And if you don't do that, you increase your risk of motor vehicle accidents, you increase your risk of heart attacks. It's tremendously beneficial. So getting good quality sleep is important. And I think avoiding stress when possible is also very helpful, or using others to help you diffuse stress if you feel like it's just saddled on you. And then it's critical to think positive thoughts and try to rid yourself of recrimination, because focusing on negative thoughts has been shown to cause all sorts of problems like increased blood pressure, increased coronary artery disease, worsened immune function. And practicing gratitude is critically important. Saying thank you to the people you depend on or the people that help you will really bring about positive effects in you as well as in them. So all those things will help. So what to avoid? Well, the first thing on the list, the most important thing, is to avoid smoking. And if you are a smoker, to reach out and get help with quitting. There's all kinds of medicines now to help people stop quitting. There's also all kinds of psychological help and hypnosis to help people stop smoking. But smoking is the #1 cause of lung cancer, as well as high blood pressure and coronary artery disease. So smoking is the worst thing we can do. Obesity, is equally problematic in that it will increase blood pressure and increase the risk of diabetes. And so it's really important to try to keep your weight to a normal place and try to avoid becoming obese. It's also important to keep moving and not be sedentary. So exercise is needed for weight control, for blood pressure control, and for mental health. And if you don't do the exercise, there's really no good substitute for it. Okay? Diabetes is something we would like to avoid. Diabetics have a 2 times normal rate of coronary artery disease just because they have diabetes. And they start to get all kinds of complications. So I really think anything we can do to control diabetes by responding to a condition called prediabetes, where your body is starting to become diabetic, is critical. The hemoglobin A1C, which is a way that they test for diabetes, should really be less than 5.5. Although you call diabetes at 6.5, 5.5 is the level below which you're normal and above which you're pre-diabetic. And there are very helpful medications now that can help you stay below pre-diabetes as a non-diabetic. And you should talk to doctors or nurse practitioners about that. And then I think it's important to avoid dangerous places. And we often know where these are. So avoid gunfire for sure. Avoid bad traffic. And do your best to avoid crazy people too. Because all of those things are a risk to you and will certainly increase stress. Last but not least, what to think. So #1, the most critical thing is to think positively. It's helpful to keep a log of all the good things that happen, because the more you notice, the more they happen. And also to practice gratitude, to make sure that you say thank you to at least 2 people who help you every day, and log that as well. It's important to purge negative thoughts and emotions. as they will help to kill you. And the quicker you can get rid of them, the better off you are. If you're unable on your own to get rid of negative thoughts, consider the field of psychology to help you. There are all kinds of psychologists that can help you find ways to think more positively if you're having a problem doing it. Those are the main things that I wanted to talk about, but I'm more than happy to answer questions if anyone has any questions.
Yes. So I see comments that people are going to look both ways before crossing the street. And I also, you do have a question. It says, thank you for your teaching and helping us on how to live well for a long time. My two questions are, is there any medical way to predict the outbreak of diseases like COVID-19? And two is it possible to reset our mind at any age?
So the first one was, can we predict the onset of diseases like COVID? And I think we can better manage them by better sharing of information across boundaries. So had we understood what what China was dealing with when it was dealing with it, we would have been in a better place. And we could have worked cooperatively in ways that would have been more helpful. But I don't know that there's a way to predict, other than by people sharing information of infections and when they're coming. There's some that we can predict, like flu outbreaks and things like that. But it's not easy to predict these novel agents, which COVID-19 was. And so I'm not sure that we'll be able to do that, but better cooperation between countries and more honest reporting would be beneficial. The second question, Dakar, I didn't catch it.
Oh, yes. The second one was, is it possible to reset our minds at any age?
I think it is possible to reset our minds at any age. I think there's a variety of ways you can do that. There are programs in mindfulness-based stress reduction. They're given all around the country and online. Some of them are free. And I think that it is beneficial for people to learn ways of clearing their mind so that it thinks of nothing for a while. And then when it focuses on things, it focuses much better on the things it focuses on. So there are other ways to work on clearing one's mind. You can do that with like a psychologist. And, you know, some people actually try to do that with medication too. So I don't think it's a problem to clear your mind, but there are some simple ways to do it and then some more complicated ways. And I probably favor the simple ways. Any other questions? I thought I saw one about, I'm pretty sure I saw one about, is it better to lose weight by dieting or by exercise? And the answer really is, it's better to have both. But you could do it either way. In other words, you could cut down the number of calories you're bringing in, and that would result in a weight loss. Okay, but then you're eating a diet that is that's pretty deficient, and when you switch from that to a regular diet, you may not stay at a normal weight. So I think the combination of the dieting and the exercise is the best. Now, there's certain individuals that have a very difficult time controlling their weight. And it is not easy for those individuals to lose weight. And now there are excellent medications. Unfortunately, they're not inexpensive, but there are excellent medications. One is called Ozempic, the other one's called Mounjaro. Those are injections that are given, but I think those injections should be reserved for people who have failed to control their weight after attempts, and they're very effective at causing weight loss, but you may need to be on them for a long time. So I think all the approaches, whatever works, works. And the question is, what will work for each individual? There was a question, I think, about 5.5 and diabetes, but it didn't stay on my screen.
Okay, let me see. I see a question, how beneficial is green tea or other herbal tea for detoxing? Oh, I see the diabetic one. I can read that one when you're finished.
Okay, so green tea and other supplements may be helpful for certain individuals. I think detoxification is in of itself not necessarily helpful, although some people really like it. And if you really like it, there's no reason you can't do it. But when people detoxify, generally, they eat a very simple, low-calorie diet for a few days. And they try to get everything to come out of their system. And they can take green tea, they can take all kinds of things. But I'm not sure I would necessarily do that. Now, how can I put this? There is some positive results from people who have done what they call intermittent fasting. And so they eat one meal a day or 2 meals a day. And then most of the day, they're not eating at all. And this does seem to promote positive changes in their metabolism, reversal of diabetes, and assist with weight loss. And so that's something that some people could try, but I think doing that with guidance would be best. So I think, that's what I think about weight loss. But what was the question on the diabetes or hemoglobin?
Yes, so it says, if you are diabetic and have been controlled to A1C equal 5.5, do you still need to continue with medication at that level?
So if a diabetic is at 5.5, that means that they've dropped below the level that's pre-diabetic. So that's an excellent achievement. So the question is, what medication is allowing them to do that? And will they still stay at that level without the medication? And the only way to know is to do the experiment, but it's better to do the experiment with the doctors in the know than with surprising them and saying, I did the experiment, show me what happened. I think that, for some people who are very diligent at diet and very diligent at exercise, they may be able to stop their diabetic medications if they get to 5.5, and they can stay there without their medication. But for some people, some medication may still be necessary. Now, metformin, which is an old diabetic medicine, but still a mainstay of therapy, metformin has been shown in multiple studies to lengthen life. Okay. A lot of people take metformin who don't have diabetes because they feel it will extend their life. I don't know that there's been some really nice evidence, but I'm not sure I would necessarily tell everyone to start it today. Okay. But I certainly wouldn't tell diabetics to throw it away. Okay. If it helps them keep their A1C a little lower. So I think it just depends on what situation and what you're trying to do. I mean, if the diabetic is able with just diet and exercise to keep below 5.5, that's an amazing job. And my hat's off to them. That's terrific. But if they need a drug to get to 5.5, that's much better than being at 6 or 6.5 or 8 or 10 or 11, right? So I think it's terrific that they're where they are. I just want them to make sure that they stay there if they drop something. And you really need to go about 3 months in a change before you get a follow-up hemoglobin A1C to see the effect. So they'd have to hold the change for a while and make sure it stays in the same range. But it's not a crazy idea.
Awesome. Thank you very much for that. I think those are all the questions for today.
Well, if I can help anyone, please email Dakar or management, because they know how to reach me. And I'm more than happy to try to answer those questions for you. The only bad question is the one you don't ask. Right. I hope you guys have a wonderful meeting and a great day.
Oh, thank you. You as well.
All right. Bye-bye.
Right. Bye.
Awesome. Wonderful. Wonderful. Thank you so much for that. Dr. Eric, you're a lifesaver in so many ways, and we benefited so much from your expertise, your care, your kindness, your friendship, your love. And so we're just so fortunate to have you as one of our chaplains and one of our friends, dear friends.
Okay, I hope you enjoyed that. I want you all to like, subscribe, comment, and share. And stay tuned. We have some more messages that follow. I'd love to see you tomorrow morning, as we do have our God Success Teach and Pray every day. And I look forward to seeing you next week on our Wednesday Icon Talk. Thank you.